I'm so hungry. I need something. Got any tuna? Thank you so much for joining us. We're continuing our verse-by-verse study through the book of Matthew. We're in Matthew chapter 5, verse 6. But remember, this is the Beatitudes. We've got to lead up to it a little bit. We started with, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." We're so poor spiritually, we can't get to heaven on our own. Blessed are those who mourn. It's that you've realized why you have such poorness, why you are spiritually broke. It's because of your sin. And you start mourning your sin. You start mourning the sin of the people around you. Next was, blessed are the meek. The meek or broken to God's will, humbled to God's will. Blessed are those, you're changing your mind, your will, and you're laying it down for God's will. And now, today, we have verse 6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. So, this idea of righteousness is basically right standing. So we have this in a practical sense. If I deal in business with you rightly, I don't cheat you in any way, then you could call me righteous compared to you, or vice versa. So the idea is, if we treat each other well, rightly, fairly, we are righteous. Position or between us. But this also carries the spiritual implication. Are you righteous with God? Do you have a right standing with God? And so we saw, the first part of it, blessed are the poor. We've realized we're not in a right place with God. We're broke spiritually. We can't get there on our own. But the most important part of this little verse here, I feel, is when it talks about hungering and thirsting. So it's hard for many of us to understand. There are some who do, but there's hard for many of us to understand what it truly is to be hungry, like to the point of starvation. To really hunger. But that's what it's talking about here, is this desperate hungering and thirsting for His righteousness, for a right standing with God the Father. And the only way you and I are ever going to get that righteousness is through Christ's blood. He will make us right. That's why He said, the last thing He said is recorded in the Gospel of John, "It is finished." This is when He's dying on the cross. It is finished. Quite literally paid in full. The payment for your sins, the payment for my sins, was paid for in full by Jesus' death on that cross. And that is how you and I can be righteous. We can be in a right standing with God the Father. And so in these steps that God is showing us to grow closer to Him, that narrow and difficult route, He is showing us we've come to hungering and thirsting for His righteousness, hungering and thirsting for what He gave us on the cross. We should be desperate for it. We should be longing for it. And here's the cool part I find about this. It's not that you have to get re-saved every day, but the righteousness, we need to be hungering for it, just like you would for food. Every day, you and I get hungry and we want some food, maybe some tuna. We're hungry every day, hungry for physical food. We should be hungry for spiritual food every day, hungering and thirsting for Him, hungering and thirsting for His Word, and getting into it every single day. Lord, I need more of you. I need to be filled up with you. God, what do you have for me today in your word? Help me to feast on it today. I sure love you guys.